check this out. So it's got like my face that it's always tracking.
Oh. Is it because you're more pretty or what? Why is it red?
Didn't like you.
You don't like me? You don't think this is pretty? Oh, dude, yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
Follow my face.
What's up, YouTube? Here we are on day 2 of the van build. In the morning, we just got everything unpacked from the van again and are getting ready to finish up all of the wiring, but we realized that we used way too much wire. I'm running a single wire to every light instead of just running them in parallel next to each other.
Using common leg.
Using common leg is much more efficient power-wise and resource-wise and everything. We just somehow didn't really think of that, so we got to pull out a bunch of the wiring we did last night and make sure everything is done right now. So lessons learned. You get tired at the end of the day and you're not really thinking things through, and I guess that's what happens. You end up doing twice as much wire as you need to.
Yeah. Alright. So if we got the van here, here's your bed-ish. Okay, and we got 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 5, 6. Those are your 6 lights. You got 2 under cabinet lights. You got your thermostat and then your USB. And your switch hub over here. Some switches. So if we got the, let's say, call this positive, I'll call it negative. So the negatives are going to branch out, come back. This negative here, this negative here, and then back to the switches. Same with the positives. We'll make the positives solid. Down there, there, and there. So those are all controlled off one switch. As you can see, they're all in parallel. Now, if you think about parallel is more energy efficient, especially when you're using DC voltage. If you think about each light as a dam and the voltage as flowing water, each light is going to dam up the water. And if you were to do it in series, if you had 3 lights like this, then each light is, let's say, 4 volts, and you're running 12 volts. You get 4 volt drop here, you get a 4 volt drop here, you get a 4 volt drop here, which is fine because you use every single volt. But if you get a 5th or a 4th light, it's got 0 volts. So you're dropping voltage across. Whereas if you do it in parallel, you got a light here, a light here, 12 volt source. It's splitting. You're getting 12 volts at each node right here. So then you have over here another 12 volts. So you got to be very careful about your voltage too. You don't want to, if you're going to be doing 2 in series after the parallel split. So that's very highly recommended. Be careful of how you hook up your lights and all your other electrical. These lights are also going to share negative legs. Negative. This is going to go here. Negative, negative, and they're going to connect here, there, positive, 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 connect, positive, connect. There's another switch, and then you have a separate switch for here, for your thermostat, separate switch for your USB. So that will give you 4 switches. We have a 5th switch, which we have yet to designate. That's it.
Cool. Looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
So we gotta.
So we didn't run more than twice as much wire. We ran like 50% more wire.
Thereabouts, yeah.
Yeah.
So it is what it is, you know. I mean, we got extra wire. It's always good to have extra wire because, especially at the end, when you come into conditions that are where you require extra connectivity between pigtails. That's where you gather your same common wires together. You know, so extra wire is always good to have around, especially when you want to do more projects or if you want to do any kind of custom or exterior work, that kind of stuff. So wire's good.
So we initially put the conduit up using adhesive command strips on the ceiling, and then some zip ties to wrap around the flexible conduit, which we then run all of the wire through. It's not too difficult, and it helps to plan it all out first and write it down. Alright, I am up here on the roof getting ready to do kind of the scariest thing, which is drill some holes in the van and then cut a big hole in the roof to put in the max air fan. But I think we're doing it right. We measured a bunch of times underneath, and wow, JR's really shaking it down there. And he's starting to get ready to drill up. And I'm marked it out with some blue tape there on the top so we don't get too bad of metal filings going. I might add some more here in a minute, but I'm gonna set up the camera to do some time lapse for the rest. Yeah. All right.
That's pretty easy, actually.
Yeah, I was right on the edge with the tape. I kind of erred on the wrong side, but it still made it.
All right, we're getting another one.
Let me put another layer of tape on the outside just in case.
Ready?
Yeah. Yeah, that one was spot on. Yep. Yep. All right. All right, here we go, beginning the cuts, going in between the holes that we drilled out into the roof, starting from the bottom, of course, because you have to line everything up perfectly with the edges of the ribbing here, and even cutting a little bit into the flanges that attach those ribs to the ceiling, because in the Nissan here, we have just exactly 14 inches without having to actually cut into the structural support of the roof ribs, just a little bit into the flanges where they attach to the ceiling. It's alright if you don't get a perfect cut on this. Of course, you do want to have as straight a cuts as you can. Use some sort of straight edge up there while doing the cuts with the jigsaw. We didn't get footage of that, but JR is using a bar of metal, like a U-bar, which helped him cut a little straighter, but somewhere like around the flanges there where it went off, the metal is a lot thicker. It's hard to keep it going as straight. You're also going to go through a lot of blades. 3 blades for us. Make sure you get at least a 3-pack of the metal cutting blades for your jigsaw. And we'll show you how we clean up the not quite perfect cut, and of course you want to err on doing too small a cut and too large of a cut, which we did, thankfully. Here we first started trying to use a hand file to do this, which is really just going to take forever, as we figured out. And so I ran to the store and got an angle grinder, which really isn't a bad tool to have. You can use it for cutting and grinding and sanding. Yeah, it's a pretty good multi-use tool. I don't mind having to have gone and added it to my collection. cleaning up here, getting ready to put down the butyl tape that's going to make the roof level, so that the fan will not have any gaps of air. But yeah, you really want to make sure it's clean. And you also, after cutting into it, want to spray down with a little Rust-Oleum to seal up those edges, make sure that you don't get any rust starting in there. And went through pretty quickly there, the butyl tape all put in, and we dropped it in and got it fit perfectly in there. And JR put on the silicone to seal it in there, which I barely got any footage of. This is all just going really fast. It was towards the end of the day, and we just wanted to get things done, so my footage isn't the best. But he finally puts it in, the last screws, which you have to have the fan open for to put in, which you can do manually, just on a little hand crank. In the bottom, it's a very well-designed fan.
There we go.
On.
And your max fan is in.
Boo-yah.
Damn right. And look at the flashlight on. That's a nice looking fan, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Alright. Yeah.
That wraps up day 2 of my van build video. Hit the like button if you liked the video, and subscribe to my channel if you really like me. And leave any questions you have down in the comments. See you on the next one.